Well, Holly, thank you so much for being here with me on the Entrepreneurial Success Podcast. Like I said, I'm really excited to have you here on the episode because we're going to talk about something that a lot of people kind of go like, oh, I want to do this, but I am cringing. And that's talking about videos, using videos for your business. And I know that we're going to have a bunch of stuff to talk about here that people are going to enjoy. But before we get started, why don't I hand over to you so you can introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Thank you. Lovely to be here. Thank you so much for having me. So, my name's Holly, and I run a company called 299 Video, which is essentially a business where we offer self-shot promotional videos for small businesses, for entrepreneurs, solopreneurs. And the reason that they are self-shot is because it makes it a lot more affordable. The videos themselves cost £299, hence where the name 299 Video came from. And I'm such a big believer and advocate of video marketing, and I want to make it accessible for everybody. So that's a tiny little bit of the kind of story behind, what 299 Video does. But yeah, in a nutshell, our clients film their piece to camera and we edit it into a really slick promo video with all the bells and whistles, all their branding, music, subtitles, and we deliver it in 7 days.
Amazing. And I've seen some of the videos that you guys have created so far, and I just love it. And I think, yes, it is affordable for business owners, but at the same time, and we'll dive into this a little bit, there's a lot of obstacles that hold us back from getting onto video, but we'll get into those a little bit. How did you get started with 299 Video? I mean, what was that journey like for you to start your business or just to go and, yeah, I love videos. I'm just going to do it.
Great question. So I've actually got two video production companies. One of them I set up when I was 21, fresh out of uni, and that's company still going strong. But it's very bespoke, and we as a company do everything from start to finish. So, someone might come over and not come over, but someone might call me up and say, look, I want a documentary series filmed, or I want, a TikTok series, or whatever it is they may want. And we then create everything, we film everything, edit everything. But I kind of realized a few years ago that the kinds of people that I really love working with, and I really love my corporate clients, which the other business tends to attract more of. But like I mentioned before, the sort of solopreneurs and the little people, they are the people that I'm super passionate about working with, because I think when you create videos for those types of people, you really get to see the difference that you're making in their marketing. And it's just not affordable for so many people, which I know I touched upon before. You're looking at, £1,000 plus as a starting cost for investing in video production, and it's absolutely worth it. But again, for a lot of people, it's just out of their budget. And so I wanted to create something that allowed everybody to be able to access videos and promotional videos, which is the only offering we do at the moment. We specialize entirely in promotional videos. They are super powerful because you can stick them on your website. If you know that you've got a quiet time in your business, you can say, okay, let's say it's August. You've got this tool in your arsenal that you can post, in Facebook groups, on LinkedIn. It's a really super versatile offering. So had the idea about a year ago. And I also realized, as a result of working in this industry for so long, that another thing people really struggle with is confidence on camera or knowing what to say on camera. So we wanted to package something up that gave people confidence to be able to record themselves, gave them the technical information that they needed to ensure that they looked great, they sounded great. We also give them a script template so that, because we know what works in the sort of, promotional video space. I wanted to give them a template that meant that they weren't kind of waffling on. They were able to structure the video in a way that I know works, but the words do have to come from the person because they obviously know their ideal
Yes.
client, much better than I could ever know. So they write the script, but it's structured in a way that is going to work in a video marketing format. We give them an auto cue app as well. So if they're struggling and thinking, I'm never going to remember what it was I want to say, they can just read their script straight from the phone. And we give them lots of kind of step-by-step videos on exactly how to do the process. There's a written guide as well. And we just want to hold people's hand through the whole process. So that's why it was created. That's how it's been packaged up. And, it's just it's allowed me to do exactly what I kind of set out to do, which is work with the little people that don't necessarily have thousands of pounds to spend on video marketing. And again, I'm such a big advocate for small business owners using video, and it's just enabled me to, make it more affordable and more accessible for even the little guys.
I know, and we've had some conversations about this before, I remember. But obviously we live in a time and an age where technology is constantly evolving, and we are seeing a lot more videos, especially on social media. And I think this kind of puts the fear into a lot of people about doing videos, knowing that they've got to do it, but obviously having that fear around doing videos. What do I say? How do I look? Da, 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 da. And then we've got so many blocks coming up. But with the technology evolving on a constant basis, from your perspective, how do you see, or what do you see are some of the main benefits for small businesses utilizing videos in their marketing?
It's a really great question. And I think, particularly as a service-based small business, so let's say people like coaches, for example, when someone is contemplating who they is that they want to work with. So let's use the coach as an example. Let's say somebody wants a business coach and there's several different options out there. You're going to work with the person who you have a rapport with, who like and trust. And if you're a small business owner and you're going networking, and I use this line quite a lot, I always say that using video is kind of like networking, but with the entire internet. It allows you to cast your net much wider. And what I'd also say about marketing, and this might sound a little bit backwards, is that good marketing is as much about turning away the kind of people who aren't a good fit for you as it is about attracting the kind of people who are a really good fit for you. And the great thing about video is that it's really good at targeting the exact type of people who you love to work with because it's you on camera. And that's why I advocate for people being on camera and not kind of hiding behind filming other things.
Yeah.
It is so super powerful at building that rapport with people. And again, your reach is, although, by the way, I love networking. Again, huge advocate for it. I network all the time, but you are limited to the people in the room and obviously the people they know. Whereas when you're using video marketing, you are able to reach a wider audience. So I don't say to people use video and don't network. I'm saying do both of them, use them in conjunction with each other
Absolutely.
because it's just so powerful at building up that rapport. And I think people also get in their head with imposter syndrome, and we've all experienced it, and people think they have to be perfect on film. You don't. I say to my clients, aim for 7 out of 10. That's your new target, because if you try and be 10 out of 10, it's going to take you a million takes and you're probably never going to be happy. But people don't notice that your hair was slightly out of place or that you had a slight stumble. They just see you on camera, they like what you're about, they feel spoken to, they feel understood, and it makes them want to work with you. And when it comes to that process of onboarding a client, you have far less objections with that person, and it's so much easier to sign that person up because they've already built that know, like, and trust with
Yeah.
you through seeing your content. So by the time it comes to you, having that consultation with them with that call, the majority of the people, they're kind of almost there. They just want to have that conversation just so you can kind of, give them that gentle nudge to work with you. But a lot of the hard work has been done already once, you've created some good video marketing.
Yeah, exactly. And I can resonate with this because I remember when I started my business, one of the things that people always kept telling me, as they do, is you got to get on videos. You got to get on videos. And I freaked out, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But then I just created this video for myself, decided I'm going to learn how to do the editing, which I did, and I'm so glad I did. And I started putting videos out there, just on Facebook, by the way, at that point. And
Yeah.
I really started seeing the traction. I started seeing the views, and I was like, this is working. The more I did it, the better I got at it. And then obviously my podcast also eventually went on screen. So it wasn't just the audio, it was all on YouTube as well.
Mm.
And it took some time, but you know what? I wouldn't want it any other way. And the benefits that came from that, where people say, it's like I know you, like I've met you and I've known you for years already. And this is the first time we're having a conversation. I'm like, oh, wow. So people are actually seeing my stuff. I never even thought people would be watching my stuff, but they do. And then obviously that's evolved and grown over the years. But I do agree with you. It is giving you that kind of reputation, but putting you into that spot where people already build a relationship with you without you even knowing it.
It's so true. And you raise a really good point, actually, because sometimes I speak to people and they say, I've been creating some videos and I'm not really getting likes or comments, I'm not really sure it's for me. And I say, don't forget about the lurkers. They are prevalent on all social media platforms. And I've had it, my clients have had it where, and you just made the very good point about it, where, they might have watched your video a year ago or they've been seeing your content. They don't comment or anything, they don't engage with it, but then they call you and say, I've been stalking you online for the last year and now I really want to work with you. And you're like, I've never even heard of you before. So you can never,
Yeah,
I think likes and comments can sometimes be, vanity metrics. And you just don't know who's watching. So, even if you're creating video content and you're kind of feeling a bit disheartened because maybe you're not getting immediate results or you're not getting those likes and those comments, never forget about the people that are watching and not engaging with it. Because you
exactly.
might just get a client tomorrow or next week or a month down the line. So yeah, I'm such a big believer in creating content.
Yeah, no, I agree. Let's talk about the confidence a little bit because obviously we understand the benefits, and I think the audience here would go like, "Yeah, I get it. I know how beneficial it is, but I'm freaking out." So some of us here might be listening to it, going, "Yeah, I've been doing a couple of videos, and it freaks me out. I'm scared. I want to get it perfect because we tend to be perfectionists." And I know you said give it a 7 out of 10, you still be fine. But what are a couple of tips that you can give to the people here in the audience just to say? These are a couple of things you can do to build up on that confidence. But again, go for a 7 out of 10. You don't have to be perfect. So, what are some of the things that you can share with the audience?
Love that question. So there's a couple that kind of spring to mind immediately. The first one is probably not what I think people would expect me to say, but it's actually, and it's a tip that can be used whether you're nervous about creating a video or anything, but it's just something you can do that calms the body. Because often what happens when people are nervous to be on camera, their body starts to go into fight or flight, even though there's no real immediate danger. It's a very sort of tribal thing, your body wanting to survive. So that's why often people try and record a video and they'll stumble over their words. They find themselves forgetting what it is they want to say. And it's just because your adrenaline's been raised. So when I used to film, with people sort of physically there, I used to just say to them, if you're nervous, all you need to do is take a big deep breath in through the nose for 1 second, out through the mouth for two, and keep counting up. So until you end up doing, I think it's 5 seconds through the nose, 10 seconds out, and then you start again. So you keep counting up. And all that does is it just relaxes your body and it stops your heart from beating and it stops you from being a bit scatty and forgetting what it was that you wanted to say. So that's a really great thing that you can do, a great routine. If you are finding yourself forgetting what you wanted to say, just take a couple of minutes before you create that video, just calming down your body, and you'll find that you're able to remember what it was you wanted to say far easier. It calms your body down, it keeps your mind really nice and clear. And that's just a really simple tip, but actually it works really well. The other tip that I often give people, and when people sign up to our promotional videos, we have a whole video about all the different things you can do to kind of, combat the fear that comes with being on camera. But another great thing, which is going to sound really stupid, but it really works, is actually just imagining that your ideal clients are sat in your phone and they're listening to you. Because what you find is when you're recording a video, it doesn't give you anything back. You're talking to a bit of glass and metal and wires. There's no energy. There's no kind of smiling person nodding back at you, bouncing that energy back to you. And often a lot of public speakers who are incredible on stage aren't very good on camera because they're so used to that audience interaction, and you get none of that. So although it sounds insane, I do always recommend, just imagine you're addressing that person who really needs your help, who really needs your service or your products. They are just sat in your phone listening. And if you keep telling yourself it, you'll notice that again, your body starts to relax. You're a bit more smiley because you're thinking about that person who needs your help. You're not talking to something that gives you nothing back. And it just allows the video to feel a lot more conversational, because a lot of people very much go into presenter mode when they're recording a video because they think they've got to be a certain type of way, whereas you don't. Your ideal clients want to work with you because it's you and they know you and like you and trust you. And so just imagining that person, rather than the device that you're recording on is a really powerful tip. And I just encourage everybody to try it. Don't knock it until you tried it.
I love that. And honestly, as you were talking, it reminded me of when I started, obviously, the videos, like I mentioned earlier on. I had a whole script listed out and I had my camera set up, sat on a chair, all perfect, as you do. And I was reading and recording myself, reading this whole script. And I looked back at the video and I just cringed. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. I hated it. It looked like I was so stiff and I was jabbering on, even though I knew what I had to say. And I was like, right, that's it. I removed the script, didn't have to read it. And I was like, I'm just going to re-record it again. And funny enough, I did do a lot of breathing beforehand. So I'm glad you're mentioning that because that works. And then I just went and was like, I'm just going to record this and say what I think, and whatever comes up, comes up. And, I know what I want to get across. I'm not going to use the script. And I did it. And then I looked back at the video. I was like, this is it. And after that day, I kind of knew my tips that I wanted to share about, but I never had a script. But I think the biggest thing for me was just realizing that I needed to be myself. I didn't need to pretend. And just that in itself gave me such a confidence boost, but also took that pressure off my shoulders. Like, you don't need to pretend. You don't need to show up and be Little Miss Perfect, as they say. And after that, it just started instilling more and more confidence. And before I knew it, I didn't even need to worry about it. Oh, and this was the other thing that I mentioned to people is one of my biggest fears and blocks is because English is my second language. So originally coming from South Africa, I speak Afrikaans. And that was a huge stumbler for me because I say my tense is still wrong. My English teacher would hate me for saying this, but I still get my tenses wrong. I pronounce words wrong, but I had to be okay with that because that's who I am. Take it or leave it. And people appreciated that, the fact that I was honest about it. So now it's just, this is it. What you see is what you get. End of.
I love that. Yeah, fair play to you as well. That's a whole other layer when English is not your first language. It's just another kind of barrier to get through. But video is one of those things where the more you do it, the easier it gets. That
It
first
does.
so hard because I remember with my other company when I was filming people and people used to be so nervous and I used to think to myself, what are you so scared about? This is easy. Until one day when I turned it round on myself and tried it and I was terrified. I remember I had my phone. I went into my car so no one could see me, no one could hear me. I was stumbling over my words. And that's from that point on, I got it. I'd never done that before and I understood it. But, now, I'll be really honest, I don't love making my own videos. I do it because I know the power of it. But, I can just easily do it now. And that's kind of what I want for everybody is that you might not ever love the process, and I love editing other people's videos, don't massively love creating my own, but just do it. Just do it, just be brave. And I promise you, first is the worst, it gets easier. And another tip as well, if you are somebody who is super judgmental of how they look and really self-critical, and let's be honest, that's kind of the majority of us, that we tend to sort of pick ourselves apart when we watch it back. Just don't watch it, just record it, post it, have a glass of wine first, hit post. It's better than not doing it at all. So that's another tip.
I know. I love that because I hear so many people say, I hate the way I sound. Oh my gosh. I'm constantly frowning while I'm talking. I was like, what do you care? People don't see it. You pick it out because you notice it. People don't notice it because that's kind of like the way they normally actually would see you. So don't worry about it. And the other question I have for you is actually, getting in front of the camera, fine, we can build the confidence, but what the heck do I talk about? I think this is where people sometimes struggle. No, not everybody, because I know a lot of people say, I've got a lot of content, I don't mind, I can do this. But a lot of other people go like, I don't even know where to start. What are some of the tips maybe you can share with people of maybe just getting to that starting point, or at least having some framework or some form of content to talk about?
Of course, yeah. So there's different types of videos that you can create. So what we do, we only do promotional videos, and one of the things that we always kind of drum into people is that it's not about you, and this is why we give them a structure. It has to be about your ideal clients, and I say this to people a lot, and I say, I mean this said with love, but your ideal clients don't care about you. You know, they, especially when they're seeing you for the first time, it might be different when they kind of know you. They know they have a problem, they know they want a solution, and that's what your promotional video should do. It should make them feel really understood, as though, you know, you are the solution to their problems. And you know, the people that are watching that, who feel understood, who feel as though you get them and that you can offer the solution, are the ones that are then going to follow your call to action. And so many people create videos, like promotional videos particularly, and they talk just about themselves and about their experience and how many years they've been in business, and it's just, it switches people off, and people say, oh, video doesn't work for me, I've tried it. And then the reason it doesn't work is because you're not speaking the
Yeah.
language that your ideal clients speak. So from a promotional perspective, I would definitely say it's super important to always use really simple language and also speak a language that resonates with your ideal clients. It's about them, not you. With content videos, which is kind of like, you know, reels and stories that you might put out online, you absolutely can get away with talking about yourself a little bit more, because you know, you're growing an audience, and actually people that do know you already do really like finding out stuff about you. It's just more from the promotional side of things that, you know, it's really important to focus on your clients. But in terms of ideas, a really good place to start if you're wanting to create your own videos, and I encourage everybody to, is to think about what kind of questions come up for you time and time
Mm.
again in business. You know, as small business owners, we all have them. And the reason that they're a really good starting point for topics to talk about is because, you know, there's demand for it, because you're being asked it quite a lot. So if you want people to engage with your videos and you want people to watch until the end, answer the kind of things that they want to know. So, you know, again, if you're, let's use a Pilates instructor for an example, the kind of questions you might be is, how often should I be coming to a Pilates class if I want to, you know, strengthen my body, or if I want to hit a certain goal? We'll create a video on that, because you know that people want to know the answers. So
Yeah.
that's always a really good kind of starting point. I also think people are quite nosy, and I know I'm kind of contradicting myself here, because I've said people don't want to know about you, they want to know about their problems, but I'm more on about social media. You know, it's a social platform where people want to get to know each other. You know, do a day in the life video, talk about, you know, especially if you've got a business that's maybe a little bit unusual. They're always great to kind of show people, you know, this is what I do in a day. And another really great tip of what to talk about, if you have a pet, or like an office dog or something, videos with dogs in tend to get really good, a high amount of views, really good engagement. So even if you're talking about something business related, if you've got a little pup that you can have on screen, people, they might not be listening to everything you say because they might be looking at the dog, but that's really good for boosting views. And also testimonial videos are really good. So once you've
Yeah.
worked with someone, you know, ask them for a video testimonial, because it's social proof of how good you are. And I know that as business owners, we often really worry about asking people for video testimonial because we feel a bit awkward. The worst they're going to say is no. And what you could do, if you have a physical business where you work physically with people rather than online, just say, look, hey, I'm going to record this quick video, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about your experience. You know, we can delete it if you're not happy afterwards, reassure them. But that's really great content as well. And even if you're not able to do that, get on your phone, press record, and just say, look, I just wanted to tell you a story about somebody I worked with recently who had these kind of problems. Here's how we worked together. And that works really well if you've got a business where, you know, people have to remain anonymous because you're like a therapist
Yes.
or something, and there's that confidentiality. But, you know, we often struggle to talk about ourselves, but we're very good at talking about other people. So that's a really great idea for a video as well, is to talk about a recent client who you helped. And again, it's just social proof of how good you are as a business owner.
Yeah. Gosh, I can just see everybody in my mind's eye making so many notes right now, going content ideas. I'm writing this down. But I will say, Holly is referring to video content ideas, okay? So there's a little caveat here. It has to be video content. Now, obviously, we spoke about quite a few things that people can do, what they need to think about doing, obviously, when they do their video marketing. But here's a question. What
Mhm.
is it that we should not be doing on videos? Oh, I love that one.
Oh, I've got a list. So I know I touched upon this, but again, really focusing on yourself all the time and talking about
Yeah.
your experience and, the amount of years you've been in business, never a good one, doesn't really engage with people. My biggest pet hate, and I see this all the time. Every single time I'm online, I see a video that does this and it drives me mad. And sometimes they're videos for massive companies, that have probably spent like 20 grand on this video. And the video will play. I'm so sorry if anyone who's listening has done this, but change it immediately if you have. The video plays, and the first thing people see is a logo. And it shows up, you've probably seen it yourself. It kind of flashes on screen for a few seconds and then it goes into the video. As a small business owner, that it doesn't make sense to do that. If you're a giant company and actually your logo is everything, it can work really well. I'm talking about like Louis Vuitton, for example, where their logo is super recognizable. But if you are a small or even medium-sized business, no one's working with you because they liked the look of your logo. Now, I'm not saying branding isn't important in a video. It absolutely is. And you'll see, on our website, all of our videos have got our clients' branding on, but not the first thing people see. You have to be engaging with people because you've got, I think it's something like 3 seconds, might be less now, on average, to get someone's attention. And if you waste that precious time with a logo, you've lost people straight away. You have to hook them in. And I normally say to people, hook them in with a question that relates to them, that gets them to say,
Yes.
yeah, that's me. That's a really good kind of hook to get people in. Never start with a logo. And I would also say, what else not to do? I also see the people do this quite a lot where they're on camera, they're talking, and actually what they're talking about is really great. But their phone is one end of the room, they are the other end. And, they're a tiny little dot on the horizon. You have to be visible in your videos, and I always say to people that you want your videos to feel conversational. And so if you were having a conversation with someone in real life, you'd probably be stood about an arm's length away from them. That's the distance you want your phone to be from you. Yes, it's going to mean that your head is kind of completely covering the screen, but that's what we want. I know it's not what people want to hear, but as soon as you're not on, not on screen or you're recording it from really far away, it's just not very engaging. So you just kind of have to suck it up, and get nice and close to it because that's what people want to see. And actually, the like Gen Z, they're really good at this because of all their TikToking. You'll notice that all of their videos are really close. But my generation and generations above me don't really like that. You kind of just have to suck it up and do it because that's what's, really engaging.
Yeah.
And I'd also just say, be aware of backgrounds. Try not to have, loads of distracting things in the background. We want people focused on you.
Hmm.
But again, I think people get really kind of worried about, what they're wearing and, what the background's like. Actually, it's not as important as what people think. As long as the message and what you're saying is engaging people, you don't have to focus too much on it. But in the same breath, I remember there was that, you might remember this as well, there was that BBC News reporter a few years ago that had a very questionable item in her background when she was interviewed.
I do remember that.
Yeah, and it made headline
Yes.
news. And I always reference that because I think just be a bit mindful of, your surroundings, because she's probably never going to live that down. So just be a bit careful about what's in the background.
No, seriously, I do like this because obviously we spoke about quite a fair few things about what you should do, but also when I ask the question about what you should not be doing, it's just kind of realize that there's a couple of things where you just go focus on this, get close to the camera. One thing I would also like to add, just from a perspective, regardless if you are having a conversation with somebody on Zoom like this, whether you are recording yourself, my suggestion is just be as close as possible to the camera with your eyes. Because, and this is something that I find from my experience, is because of Zoom and because of the way laptops are with a camera, or somebody's got a camera here, but you're talking here, but the camera is like filming you, like doing this the whole time. It is so weird and it's very distracting. So unless you're getting interviewed by somebody physically sitting there and they've got a different camera angle on you. That's a different story, like they do. But if you're doing something like this on Zoom, as an example, or if you're having a conversation, make sure that your eyes are as close as possible to that camera lens, because
Yeah.
people then feel like you're looking at them. And people will laugh at this, but you guys need to see my setup here just to have this conversation with Holly. I've got a box with a little tripod and my camera right on there, and Holly's screen is right behind this camera, so her nose is literally like this in between. But my eyes are as close as possible to the lens. So that's also just one thing I want to pinpoint out is when you do your recordings, especially if you're talking to camera, make sure your eyes are as close as possible to that lens. So it doesn't look like you're constantly looking down, or it doesn't look like you're looking at the side where the camera is at a different angle. Yeah, just make it a little bit more, how can I say, engaging with your eye contact.
I love that. That's a really good point, actually. And also another thing that people often do is they'll have the camera really low and it's kind of like looking up their nose. It's not flattering. You want it to be, again, arm's length away, but also eye level. And again, it's
Yeah.
just about replicating that feeling of conversation. And one thing I would say as well, just off the back of all those tips and what you should and shouldn't do, I don't want people to feel really overwhelmed and think, oh, I have to do this and make that perfect. It isn't about that. I just want to kind of guide people into best
Yeah.
practices. But you know what? Even if you just remember some of what I've said and give it a go, it's absolutely better to have an okay video than to have no video at all. And you will
Yes.
get better with practice. So I really don't want anyone thinking that there's this real strict rule book with it, because there genuinely isn't. There are just things that you can do that are going to improve your video. And actually, if you take nothing else on board today, what's most important is the message and speaking the kind of language your ideal clients
Yeah.
use. That is so much more important than making sure that your lighting is absolutely perfect and your sound is crisp. Those things are important, but if you really want your video to work for you, it's the messaging and it's how you come across on camera that's the most important thing. And again, just remember that people want to work with you because they know you, like you, and trust you. We're just building up
Yeah.
those touch points and building on that trust. So please don't feel overwhelmed. Just give it a go. It's better than not giving it a
I
go.
know. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Oh,
Oh my gosh, Holly, it feels like there's so much we can talk about when it comes to videos. But I think just for everybody's sanity, because we've already kind of like scrambled a few things in their head where they go, I really want to do this, but I'm freaking scared, but I really want to do this. Obviously, with 299 videos, you are offering what you said. The basis of your business is you are offering this opportunity for people to have their videos edited by you, and you give them that script. What it is it that they need to say? They record themselves, they send the videos to you. How do you find with working some of your clients, what is the biggest benefit of kind of working with somebody like you in that manner to get their videos out there and utilize it for marketing? What have clients said to you in the past, how much they appreciate it, or what is that one thing that really stood out for them working with you in that manner?
the great question. The one thing that I hear so often, and it's one of my favorite comments, is people always say to me, that was nowhere near as painful as I thought it was going to be. Because I think people get so terrified. And, we've set up 299 in a way that really holds people's hand through it. We've,
Yeah.
we've got videos that accompany them, we've got a written guide, and we really want to make it as easy as possible because people are so fearful. And the benefit of using a company like us, where we not only hold your hand through the process, but we also edit it into something really slick. And because I've been a videographer for half my life now, and I've run a company for over a decade, so I've got to learn what really works well in a promo
Yeah.
video. So we'll also incorporate things like cutaways using footage that's relevant to your industry to keep people engaged. We'll add subtitles because it's something like 96% of videos online are watched without sound nowadays. Don't quote me on that, but it's a really high figure of people that, and I'm one of them as well. I never watch videos with sound. So we add things like that in there. We'll add your branding, we'll enhance your footage. So, we try to make the process as pain-free as possible, but also we're going to add all the bells and whistles on that just gives you something that you can be really proud to share, and something that is going to engage with your audience and get them taking action. So many promotional videos I've seen don't include a call to action at the end. And the problem with that is that people will watch the video and say, great, that person seems perfect for me. Tomorrow I'm going to get in touch with them, and they get distracted and they forget. Our videos are designed to get people taking action there and then. So that's the, benefit of using a company like us. We also turn it around in 7 days. So it's a really quick turnaround time from the point of receiving your footage. And we plant a tree as well as a thank you. So not a kind of video benefit as such, but you get to feel good about yourself because you know that not only are you investing in yourself and your business, but you're also planting a tree as well.
I love that. That's brilliant. And I remember you spoke about that before, but that's kind of one of the things that I forget about. So, yeah, you're giving back in a nice way as well, Why not?
Yeah.
You're doing your marketing in a video way and you're giving back to nature. 2 in 1. I love that. Oh my gosh, Holly. So listen, for you guys who's listening now to this or watching this video, and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to step up my game. I really want to get to work now. I want to do more promotional videos. I want to get over this fear that I've been holding on to for way too long. And I want to get out there. I want to start marketing myself in a proper way that is authentic and natural with me. Then honestly start thinking about utilizing videos in your marketing. And if you really want to have your hand held, my suggestion is just reach out to Holly. I'm going to put her details in the show notes. So her website will be there if you want to learn a little bit more. And in addition, if you want to see some of the videos that they have already created for some clients that they use now for their marketing, you can kind of see what does that look like and what you could possibly get as a result. And then just get in contact with Holly, have a conversation with her and see if this is something that she can help you with. Because I know Holly for many, many, many years. She's amazing at what she's doing, not just from an expertise, but also the way she guides you and she holds your hand. And like she said, so many people have said to this wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. So I think that speaks volume for itself. So for those of you who want to take that next step, go and get in touch with Holly. All the details will be in my show notes. Follow her on social, get connected there as well. Those will be in my show notes as well to connect with her. Or at least if you just have another question, reach out to her and I'm sure she'd be more than happy to have a chat with you. But more importantly, Holly, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with me and to chat this through. And your mascot didn't even show up through the video, whom I thought would, but I think he's fast asleep now behind you. There he is. Fast asleep. Oh, you guys, you missed him. He came up just before we hit the recording button and he was really part of this video, but he decided he's going to leave Holly alone and go to bed.
He's got camera shy, I think.
No, indeed. Bless you, Holly. Thank you so much. We'll be in touch again soon. But yes, thank you so much for sharing.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been so much fun.
Perfect. We'll speak again soon. Take care.